What's up, everybody? My name is Brad, and today I've got another book review for you. And today I'm talking about Clive Barker's In the Flesh. I love that cover art on there. But on Goodreads, it says that this is Books of Blood number 5. As far as I know, they're all the books of Blood are short story collections, as far as to my knowledge, and you don't have to read them in order or anything like that, as far as I know. This is my first experience reading Clive Barker. I hadn't read anything by him previously, and I was wary about starting anything by him because I know he wrote, I don't know if it's called Hellraiser, but I know he wrote Hellraiser, and then the movies were based off of what he wrote. And I did not like those movies at all. So I was worried about starting him since I didn't like the movies that were adapted from his source material. But for this short story collection, I did really enjoy it. Like I said, it's a collection of short stories. There's 4 short stories in here. There is In the Flesh, which is the title of the book. Then The Forbidden, The Madonna, and Babbles Children. The book is 255 pages long. I think the longest story in here is the first one, which is about 70 pages. So the other ones range from 40 to 60 pages or so. So they're not too awful long. If I were to pick a favorite one, it's tossed up between In the Flesh and The Madonna. Those 2 are my favorites. I might say In the Flesh is my favorite one, but I did enjoy all the stories in here. My least favorite one would be the last one, Babbles Children. And it wasn't that it was bad by any means. It was still a really good short story. It didn't really have any horror aspects to it, which is what I was expecting. I guess it did have a horror aspect, but not in the sense of there's a monster or anything like that. But we'll get into that in a second. I'm going to do, since they are short stories, I don't really want to talk about them too much, because I don't want to spoil anything, and I'll give brief little overview sort of about what each story is about. But for the first one, In the Flesh and The Madonna, those sort of had a Lovecraft vibe for me. Not necessarily his writing style, but of just sort of the cosmic horror aspects that Lovecraft is famous for. Those 2 short stories had those aspects in there for me, and I think that's why I like those more than the other 2. Like I said, all the stories in here were good. Just those 2 were standouts for me, and I think In the Flesh was probably my favorite one. But the first one, In the Flesh, just briefly, real quick, not really wanting to spoil anything. It's about a guy who's in prison, and he gets a new cellmate. And the new cellmate's kind of strange acting, and the other inmates don't really like him. And you kind of come to find out that the new cellmate was sent, he committed a crime on purpose so he could be sent to this prison because he is the grandson or the great-grandson of a former inmate. And things start to happen. Like I said, I don't want to give any spoilers, but the inmate that was here previous, he starts to have weird dreams and nightmares about this sort of forbidden city, or the shadowy city, and things start to escalate from there. That one's a really good one. Like I said, there's sort of the cosmic horror aspects to that one, so you can kind of maybe interpret what might be happening. But that was, like I said, probably my favorite one. The second story is The Forbidden. And I didn't know this, and I read like the first paragraph or 2, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I know what this is. And that one is basically, if you've seen the movie Candyman, this is a short story that's based off of. So if you know the story of the Candyman movie, it's basically the same thing. There's a student, and she is sort of in the projects, and she's wanting to do a paper on the graffiti that they have there and what it might mean and all that kind of stuff. And she stumbles into one of the apartments, and it has the graffiti of, she doesn't know at the time, but graffiti of the Candyman. It's got his face painted on the wall, and the doorway to the room is actually his mouth, which is really good imagery. and I think it's on the wall. It's "Sweets to the Sweet," I think is their graffiti. But there's murders that have happened at this apartment complex, the sort of ghetto, and the people there sort of talk about it, but when you go back and ask them again, they're sort of hush-hush and they're very strange about it. And she sort of encounters this entity at the end of the story. The next one is the Madonna. This was probably my second favorite one. It's about a guy who is trying to get investors. He's either trying to buy or he already owns. It's sort of this pool spa complex that's run down, it's been abandoned, and he's trying to get investors to come in and invest money and either reopen it as a pool spa or change it to something else. But he has one rich investor come, and they're sort of walking through the property, and like I said, it's been abandoned, it's all dilapidated, and they're walking through, and the investor, he thinks he hears something. He thinks he hears someone talking or something walking. And then before they leave, the investor sees what he thinks is a naked young lady. He sort of becomes enraptured with her, and they leave, and he actually comes back on his own, and things happen to him, and things also happen to the person who's trying to sell or get investors to the pool complex. And it's sort of this sexual monster kind of thing that's going on. Don't want to say too much more about it, but that one's a really good one. And then the last one, Babbles Children, is about this girl who likes to take her own path. So she drives off down this road that, as far as she knows, doesn't lead anywhere, and she happens to see two people chasing someone with guns, and she sort of goes off to investigate that and ends up getting lost and comes across this complex sort of out in the middle of the nowhere, and she goes in and try to find help to get directions back to her car. And people are in there dressed up as nuns, but they have machine guns, and she basically gets captured and is being held prisoner there. And she sort of comes to uncover this secret that could have apocalyptic repercussions for the whole world. But like I said, that one was probably my least favorite story. It was still good, but it wasn't a horror story in the traditional sense of there being a monster or ghost or demon or anything like that. It was more, I guess, psychological horror with how things might happen, who's really running things in the world, the governments, and what would happen if the people in charge, were no longer in charge anymore, vying for power, and possible nuclear war and apocalyptic type stuff. So more of horror towards that than like a boogeyman or a monster or anything. But overall, this is a really good short story collection. I give it 4 stars out of 5. Like I said, this is my first experience with Clive Barker. I'll definitely be checking out some of his other things, looking into the other books of Blood. I've also heard great things about his Weave World book, so I'm looking forward to checking that out as well. I really enjoyed his writing style. It did sort of remind me of King, sort of mixed with Lovecraft in a way. I really enjoyed his writing style. But have you read In the Flesh by Clive Barker? Or do you have any other recommendations of the next Clive Barker book I should check out? If you do, comment all that stuff down below in the comment section. That's all I have for you today. So thanks for spending your time with me. Again, my name is Brad, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.